to lead it off, the Toronto Maple Leafs winning and picking up a valuable 2 points against the Detroit Red Wings. They took down the Red Wings by a score of 5-4. And it was a game of firsts for some Leafs players, including Richie finally registering his first point as a Leaf, Mrazek registering his first win in a blue and white uniform in the regular season. And I mean, I just want to touch upon Nick Richie for a bit because he did get that point. But do we write off Nick Richie just yet? I hate to say it after he gets the point, but I don't know. The experiment hasn't been working too much. We tried him on that top line. Dubas and Keefe were on pretty high regard with him being there. It is leaps and bounds of how bad it is. He just can't keep up with those big boys there with Matthews and Marner. So that one was a failure. You move him down another line and still he's unable to pick up the pace. The chemistry isn't even there at all. And now he's demoted all the way down with the old farts there. I wouldn't call them old farts because Jason Spezza is wreaking havoc, if I guess you could say, on the score sheet. So he's sitting down on the fourth line. Is it a failed experiment? Are you prepared to write him off just yet? Because it hasn't been looking too nice for Nick Richie. I had high anticipations for him. It's not looking pleasant. I'll start with you, Adamo. What do you make of Richie? Just quickly, because I want to get into the other stuff, especially your boy Mitch Marner breaking a 16-game goalless drought. But again, let's stick to Richie here. What do you make of him?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of like him on the fourth line. I'm not going to lie. I don't like the cap hit. What's he making? 2.5? I think it's 2.5 for 2 years. That's not fourth line money. That's like third line, low end second line money. I guess not second line, but like a $2.5 million guy can play in your top six. You know, they're not all getting $5 million, but I think he just looks out of shape. Like that's the big thing. I think he's gotten better, and maybe that comes with getting into game shape, maybe playing less minutes on the fourth line and kind of easing your way in there. I like him in front of the net too on PP2. I think he's an underrated piece to that power play too. Yeah, I keep it short and sweet. Definitely don't write him off, but I don't think he's going to hit these lofty expectations that we thought.
Yeah, and I mean, I was part of the crowd that thought he was going to be a decent producer on the top line. I thought he was going to fit just well and just fine with the absence of Zach Hyman. He's no Zach Hyman, mind you, but I thought he could maybe replicate some of that game style. You mentioned going in front of that net, which he has been, which I do credit him for, but just the points aren't there. I expect to see a lot more coming from a guy making 2.5. And like you said, playing on the fourth line, it's not something you want to see from when you're looking at the dollars and cents here, but I guess we'll have to see. He's improving. It's slowly but surely. I don't think he's going to get another shot at the top line. And if he does, I still don't think he's going to keep up because it was just, I was really astonished seeing from preseason and it transitioning into the regular season, how bad he was with those fast players. Like it's very evident. I haven't seen it with any other player. Like I remember Joe Thornton. I think he's the closest one where when he was put on that top line last season, you knew he was a step behind. He couldn't keep up anywhere. But Joe Thornton and Nick Richie, very big age gap, especially when Joe Thornton, I believe, is in his 25th, 26th year in the NHL, something around there. So, and I don't want to get into this tangent on Joe Thornton, but I think it's very safe to say that the Nick Richie experiment hasn't been working so far. And it's maybe it'll start clicking on the fourth line, but as it is in the top six, it's not looking like he's going to make a return anytime soon. And Mitch Marner made a return to the scoreboard. Finally, we got to see him register his first goal as a Maple Leaf, and it was gift wrapped by Nick Leddy. It was a ridiculous play there. It was actually the eventual game-winning goal, which was nice to see. The Leafs win that sort of way. Usually goes the other side, but Leafs finally pulling off a victory on one of those blunders. And Tavares will register 3 points on the evening, extending his point streak to 2 games. So, I mean, nothing major there, but again, he's got 4 points in 2 games. Pretty nice thing to see from your captain because he did scuffle a bit out of the gate like many of these Maple Leafs did. So a pretty complete game by the Maple Leafs. Jared, what are your takeaways from that Saturday night contest against the Detroit Red Wings?
I mean, admittedly, because it was the Saturday before Halloween, I didn't see the entire game. I watched the first 2 periods and then went out to a party. But from what I saw in the game, I really liked it. I mean, it seemed, at least the way we started, it was a pretty complete hockey game. I loved what I saw from Liljegren. I think he just looked like such a confident player out there. And I actually really like that Liljegren-Sandin pairing. I think it's clear that they have chemistry from, I guess, playing in the Marlies together. They obviously have the chemistry. They were having fun out there. They looked like confident players. They looked like players that have been in the league for a bunch of years. They didn't look like rookies to me. So I really liked what I saw overall. Obviously, I mean, I didn't see the third period, so I didn't catch the Marner goal. Obviously, I figured I was keeping up on my phone, looking at the highlights, looking at the score. But I mean, the fact that he even buried one is a pretty big thing for him. he has looked better in the past few games. He's been looking more like himself, looking more confident. But to see him finally put one in the back of the net, doesn't matter how it went in. Obviously, I watched the highlight. It was not a pretty goal, probably not how he envisioned his first goal of the season. But whatever, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and he's at number one. He put in the puck. Hopefully, it kind of opens the floodgates. Hopefully, it starts him off kind of going more, gets him more confident. And overall, I liked what I saw from the game and the fact that we got our second win in a row after a lot of people were panicking and ready to write off the season, were stressing. It just gives all of Leafs Nation, it gives the players, it just gives everyone kind of a sense of ease early on in the season that, okay, we're going to lose some, but we're going to win some as well. Winning 2 in a row, there's nothing better than that. Obviously, we want to keep this going. Because like you were saying, I mean, winning 2 in a row, it's not exactly a streak. Like, it's just kind of, we won 2 back-to-back games. Let's see if we could get it going, though, see if we could keep the pattern alive. And I'm hoping to see more games like that because at least from what I saw, it seemed like arguably one of our most complete games of the season. I really liked what I saw.
And I mean, I know it's going to sound pretty obvious what I'm about to say, but a win is much better than a loss. And especially coming into this game, like if the Leafs barely, Adama, I know you mentioned it off the last podcast, and it really resonated with me. And a lot of what I've heard in the Toronto media as well, you're supposed to be killing the Chicago Blackhawks, and they just squeeze out of there with by the skin of their teeth with a 3-2 overtime victory. It's a victory nonetheless, but that's a team that you have to pound, especially with how they've been looking so far this year. And I mean, I'm checking the scores right now. It's looking a little bit better. They're off to a decent start against the Ottawa Senators, but you still have to pound those teams. And I think Detroit was another example of that. And if they fell short of that game, I think we'd be back at the drawing board and throwing out these sort of drastic opinions and maybe starting to bring in the panic button a little more because you haven't heard it since last week. So this just goes to show how desperate the Leafs were for another win. And I think it's going to go to looking like that in tomorrow's game against the Vegas Golden Knights, which we will tee up, and in the other games to come, because I think it's going to be a common theme with this squad. And I think the Detroit game rather on Saturday night, which is something that shows that a win can do wonders for this team. They got 2 wins. Again, it doesn't mean much, but it's something that did mean much from that game that you mentioned as well, that Sandin and Liljegren pairing, and as well, the whole shuffling of the defensive core. You had Hall. He was a healthy scratch. He's been brutal to start the season. And what I do like seeing this from Dubas and Keefe as well. I don't know who really makes the calls there, but that if you're not playing bad, if you're playing bad, you're going to sit. You need to learn your place in the team. We're putting in players that are going to play good. We want the guys, our best guys, our best starting 18 or whatever you want to call it. You want all those guys on the ice. And if Hall's not the one who's doing it after a terrific season last year, which you cannot take away from him, it just hasn't spilled into this year. And I'm hoping stuff can click. He's a great defenseman by any means. A lot of people I know tend to go on the other side of the coin and say how much they hate him, but I still see a lot of potential in Justin Hall. Kyle Dubas especially sees a lot of potential in Justin Hall. I just think he's had a tough opening stretch of games in the regular season. So I want to touch upon this defensive core because it was actually interesting to see Dermott and Riley, their old line mates, old defensive pairing, get back into the mix. You had Brody Muzzin, who they ended up producing a goal. And I kind of like that pairing as well. You allowed Muzzin to go a bit on the offensive and Brody just sit back, relax, and do what he always does, block shots, break up 2-on-1s, and of course, play a good sound defensive game. So I want to turn it over to you, Evan. You haven't gotten much screen time yet, but I feel like you can give me the best response to this answer. What did you make of the defensive pairings that we saw Saturday night against the Red Wings? And is it here to stay? Is Hall going to still be a healthy scratch when the Leafs face off against the Golden Knights tomorrow night?
I don't know really, because the Leafs, they looked good, but they still, I mean, the whole team is still developing as the season continues to go on. Like in that Red Wings game, they didn't have Tyler Bertuzzi, who has been leading them offensively, and they were still able to put 4 goals behind the Leafs defense and ultimately Peter Mrazek. I do think that Justin Hall does need more time just to almost like reevaluate himself, because and I think was it the last game he played would have been Pittsburgh, or did he play in Chicago?
He played in Chicago as well.
Okay, regardless, but that game in Pittsburgh was brutal. When Muzzin and Hall were on a defensive pairing line, they almost looked like they've never played with each other, and it just didn't look like it was a natural fit almost. And now you put Riley back with Dermott, which I really like, because I really like Travis Dermott, and I think he pairs well with an offensive defenseman like Morgan Riley. And I think the same goes for Brody and Muzzin, because Muzzin, we did see times in LA where he was an offensive defenseman and he was able to put up 40, 45 points in an 82 game season. And now that he has TJ Brody, who's a very more relaxed defensive defenseman, he allows Muzzin to get that extra pinch because Muzzin now knows that if something happens, like I have TJ Brody to back me up. So I really like this. I think they need to do something with Justin Hall. And if that means trading him, like I think that's what they might need to do, because I don't think you could put Muzzin and Hall together. They almost just, they don't look like they mesh right now. And it was evident in that 7-1 loss.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Leaf fans don't want to go back to that 7-1 loss, but again, it's a learning point in the season. And this is what the things that you have to take away from it, that this pairing just hasn't worked out. Maybe last year it was the best pairing they had, their shutdown pairing, as we labeled it. Maybe this year it's not the case. Things change in a month span, especially the way this team's playing, especially what this team has gone through both in the postseason and what spilled over into the regular season. So maybe these two players aren't it. And I'm not saying trade Hall just yet, because I know he doesn't look too great. I still think he's a valuable piece to this team in some way, shape, or form. I think his resume is more than fulfilling and showing you that he is resilient and he can still come out and put up decent games. I just think he has to learn a little bit. And I think he's got to learn the hard way. And that is possibly meaning him staying in the press box a little bit longer. And before I turn into any other topics here, I just want to get your thoughts as well, Dama. What did you make of Hall getting the bench, or I guess right into the press box? And I mean, is this something we're going to continue to see? And I mean, I kind of want to make this question a little bit more two-folded. Is Liljegren going to be stepping up as much as we've been seeing, especially in the Detroit Red Wings game?
I'm going to answer your question, but I was also just looking at HockeyDB for Jake Muzzin. And did you guys realize this is Jake Muzzin's first full season as a Leaf? He's been with us for it feels like forever now, but this is only his first season. Because 18-19, he gets traded here from LA, plays 30 games. Then 19-20, COVID. And then last season, 56 games. And then this year. Thought that was interesting. But to answer your question on Justin Hall, I've never been a Justin Hall fan. I'm going to be honest. This is something I don't want to be right about, but me and my uncle always used to talk about it. He really liked Justin Hall. I really liked Travis Dermott. I always just thought if Justin Hall wasn't right-handed, I think he's a league minimum player because he doesn't really do anything special. He has a booming shot that we saw him take a whole 2 times last season. He just doesn't do anything. He doesn't move guys out front. His gap controls, whatever. He's mediocre at moving the puck, honestly. And I think Liljegren can do the exact same thing at a cheaper price. And he's younger. And why? If you remember back when Justin Hall was scratched with Mike Babcock, and he played 6 games that season or whatever it was, I think Liljegren is better right now than that Justin Hall. So to give Liljegren these minutes, I think Hall's got to get traded.
And I was about to ask you, what would you suggest doing with Hall? I guess you just gave that right away. I don't know. I mean, Liljegren's looked awesome. He's looked very promising. It's about time. We've had Liljegren in our possession for quite a while. He hasn't developed the way we'd like to. It's taken him a little bit longer to get to the spot he's in, but he's finally here. And we're finally seeing some positive signs. So I'm hoping they could build off Liljegren. But again, I don't want to see Hall. I still have confidence in him. I don't know. Last season was an impressive season. I wish he used a shot more, and you nailed it. We saw it at least 2 times. I think at maximum 2 times, and he scored on both of them. He's got a booming slapper, just he never shows it to the goalie. So what's the point of having him offensively if he's not going to do anything with his offensive skill set? And even the defensive set, if you got to be great defensemen, obviously, as we know, can balance both. They could be very offensive, very defensive, and still find a way to meet in the middle and satisfy both parties. Justin Hall is not that. He's maybe good for a couple games on the offensive side, but forgets how to play defense, or he's probably too much defensive structured and can't even produce or chip in anything on the offensive side. So I don't know. I still have faith in the guy. I think he's going to have to sit out a little longer, like I said before. And I don't want to run in circles here on this Justin Hall discussion because I'm sure we have so much better things to go to, and it's not worth my time. But especially a bigger defenseman and a bigger name that we can or about to get to in Morgan Riley signing his contract. But Justin Hall, Yeah, give him a little bit more time. I don't know. He might be buying his time a little too short, and the leash might get a little bit shorter if he keeps playing like this. Because then by Christmas, if he's still playing like this, you might have to see some changes being made with that defensive core, and Justin Hall might be the guy to go to some other team. But we'll have to wait and see on that part. And I think what Detroit Red Wings fans are waiting to see is pretty promising, because what we saw on Saturday night was something that I never noticed from the Detroit Red Wings before, because I haven't seen it in such a long time. Youth stepping up and stepping up big. This team, guys, is legit. Not this year, but they will be a legit team in the upcoming years. They got so many young pieces that GMs in the National Hockey League, other than Stevie Y, crave about. Like, the fact that these guys are on their team now and are producing at the rate that they are, it just goes to show you how strong this Detroit Red Wings team is going to be. And just to name a few here, Villano, Raymond. It's a funny story about Villano. He actually, because he was a call up for Tyler Bertuzzi, since he can't make the trip to Canada, he was a call up from their AHL affiliate, and he had to ride, I believe, a 4 or 5 hour car ride from Detroit with Stevie Y in the car. So I'm really interested to see how the radio choice was there. I don't know if they've ever spilled out in a conversation or a post-game interview, but I found that pretty interesting on Villano's part, and he played pretty solid. I think did he get a goal in that game?
He had a goal and an assist.
Yeah, he's really
goal and
good.
assist, 2 points. I don't know. I was like Jared. I was partying all night, so I didn't see too much of the game, but I heard he was doing good things, and there it is, 2 points. And this team is going to be doing good things in the future. Sider, who I know, Jared, you were raving about early on in the year, he's going to be a terrific talent. You got also Zadina and Bertuzzi, who's probably their best player, but he obviously can't make the trip to Canada due to the vaccination reasons. But I don't know. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this Detroit Red Wings team. We haven't talked about Detroit too much because they've been in the gutter for quite a long time in this league. It's been 3 or 4 years where they just have been irrelevant, no fans in the stands. It's slowly starting to come back, and this team is starting to get some momentum, starting to build an identity for themselves. And I'm not saying that they're going to be the 2016-17 Leafs where they're just edging out a playoff spot, but maybe next year, maybe the year after. I think they're in the same boat as the Ottawa Senators in young skill talent, maybe even above. Evan, what do you think of the Red Wings team and just how youthful these guys are and how productive they are? Because Lucas Raymond, he's a terrific goal scorer, man. His shot is lethal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see this Red Wings squad really making noise within the next 3 to 5 years. I think right now you're noticing the development stages. I think in 3 to 5 years, they can really be a playoff contender that will make some noise. I think Lucas Raymond and Sider are 2 wonderful pieces, obviously picked up by the great Stevie Y. I mean, if that guy makes a draft pick, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be a stud come 5-7 years from now. And everyone was shocked when Sider was taken so high. I believe he was the 6th or 7th overall pick, and he was just ranked
I'm actually looking at
so
that.
much lower. And it's Stevie Y. He knows what he's doing, and that Red Wings organization has really struck well on those European and German guys. They've just struck well on those types of players. And you look at Lucas Raymond from Sweden as well. I mean, he's just been really eye-opening, and I think they can really do damage. This is definitely the calm before the storm.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much promise. I think it's going to be a broken record from me praising this Detroit Red Wings team. I've said it again frequently on the show. I have a big soft spot for the Detroit Red Wings. I've seen a lot of games growing up, including the Centennial Classic, which was a treat to watch. Matthews potting that I believe it was the overtime winner, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and on New Year's, that is correct. Yeah, it was a fun experience. Never going to forget it. But again, soft spot for the Detroit Red Wings. I'd love to see them do well. Such a rich history in that regard. But these players are coming out to play, and they have some growing pains. You mentioned maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, there is still some room for improvement, especially from the young guys, including Raymond. I think it was Raymond who I saw he was on a power play, and it was on the Engvall breakaway. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was a shorthanded breakaway for Pierre Engvall in that Saturday night game, and it was just turned over, a backhand pass to the blue line. Engvall picks it off, goes the other way, and hits the post. But just other learning things. I'm sure they're going to hit home to these young guys, saying you can't do that in this league. You're going to get caught. You're going to get all these kind of things, and I'm sure discipline is going to play a role in it too, because Stevie Y is never the guy to not throw the hammer down. He knows how to manage his players well. And I think these young guys are going to be at the forefront of that, ready waste it just yet. Jared, I just want to touch upon you as well. What did you make of the young talent you saw? Well, I guess didn't see as much Saturday because me and you both were busy getting a good time in. But overall, what do you make of the young talent we've seen this season from the Detroit Red Wings youthful core? I know you were high on Seider heading into the year. Like I mentioned, you got a guy like Lucas Raymond as well, Valeno, who's starting to step up as well. What do you make of him?
I mean, I like the future for Detroit. I really don't think it'll end up like I don't think they're going to be the team that makes the playoffs. I know currently they are, I believe, third in the Atlantic, so right now they are in a playoff spot. I think that will change. I think the growing pains are definitely going to start showing. I mean, they're a very young team. They're a core led by rookies essentially, and I do think there's going to be games where it doesn't exactly work out because, as you said, there's a big rookie core on that team. They're kind of trying to develop an identity in a sense. So I don't know if it'll necessarily work out this year, but moving forward, I think, like Evan said, in the next 3 to 5 years, I definitely think that Detroit has what it takes to become one of the next cup contenders. And I think eventually they should be able to win a Stanley Cup with this team. They have a great core. And that's what a few poor years will do for you. Because I mean, they've gathered a bunch of high draft picks, not a first overall pick, but I mean, at 4th overall, they selected Raymond, 6th overall, Moritz Seider, 30th overall, the pick right after Rasmus Sandin was taken. They took Joe Valeno. So, a couple first round picks in a few years. And now they're all of a sudden starting to turn a corner. They obviously used to be a great team. I know they had that crazy streak where they made the playoffs. I believe it was like 20 something years in a row.
25.
25, yeah, like a ridiculous
25.
streak. Obviously, there's the Datsuk days and stuff like that. But that's in the past. It seems as though they're kind of turning the page, turning the chapter towards the next core, led by all these young players. And as much as I really don't think it'll end up working out fully this year, but I think they're definitely going to take some positive steps forward, maybe be competitive, maybe be right around a wild card spot by the time the season wraps up. But as much as I don't see it necessarily working out this year, I do think moving forward, even into next year, the year after, I think they're definitely going to start making some noise, maybe starting to make the playoffs in that Atlantic, and it's only going to make the Atlantic Division more difficult, coming from a Leafs fan, but as well, it's only going to make it more fun and exciting to watch. So I'm really excited about the future for Detroit.
Yeah, and throw in the Ottawa Senators in there in that conversation as well. They got a nice youthful core. Tim Stützle, Josh Norris, who I absolutely love watching, Drake Batherson. The list goes on and on with these two teams. I can't wait to see them succeed. And I'm not saying it's this year. I think Detroit fans would also come and say and agree with you that it's not this year. They're just happy to see that this team is finally turning a corner, like you mentioned, Jared. And I think it's a first for all of us here on the show because we've never seen a youthful Detroit team ever somewhat succeed. It's always been the veteran Zetterberg, the name I love most growing up. Datsuk, like you mentioned, the Magic Man himself. So many. Go on.
Oh, Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah, Nick Lidstrom. Like there's so many guys that have veteran wise with age on them that have produced so much, contributing to that 25-year run. Incredible, never probably to ever be done again. Run by the Detroit Red Wings. So there's so much promise with this team, and I don't want to keep going on a tangent because everyone knows that it's pretty evident to see that these guys know what they're doing, especially Stevie Y. He's known what he's doing since day one. The Yzer plan is somewhat coming to full circle, just like the Shannon plan did years ago. So I'm hoping to see the Detroit Red Wings in a spot in the upcoming years. Like Evan said, a 3 to 5 year time frame. It's probably going to be the likely one we're going to see from this group. But again, the signs are pretty positive for the Detroit Red Wings side. And I want to touch upon the final topic for the Maple Leafs here before we head into some National Hockey League news. It would have to be the Leafs heading in against the Vegas Golden Knights. Evan's Vegas Golden Knights. And Evan, if you want to represent it for the broadcast here, you will be representing the Leafs line team at the Maple Leafs game tomorrow night. What do you make of that? The big call up heading down there? You excited?
Yeah, doing the radio notes basically throughout the game, handing them goal sheets, just any notes anything that catches my eye just throughout the game. And so I'll be with the big boys. I got the call up.
I can't wait to hear the story. I mean, it's going to be spectacular. Obviously, you're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff and meet a lot of guys. You're going to have a great time. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I've never done it before. It's probably going to be a dream come true once I get there, or if I get there. But yeah, congratulations, man. Enjoy it. And just on the topic of discussion, the Leafs will look to string together a third win, a win streak now of their own, including a pair of extra time. Or sorry, I'm getting a little off topic here, but the Vegas Golden Knights, they're heading in, facing them at Scotiabank Arena. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. against the banged up Vegas Golden Knights squad. At that, we learned today that the William Karlsson, he's out, I believe, 6 weeks with an injury. And the Vegas Golden Knights, they have a 3-game win streak of their own, including a pair of extra time victories. So it's going to be a close one. I bet you guys on that. And I mean, what's the game plan heading in? I mean, the Maple Leafs have they had a solid game against Detroit. The Chicago Blackhawk game, I don't think it was a solid one, but it was definitely a win. A win's a win is a win, and it was an overtime gritty victory. So where do you go from here for the Toronto Maple Leafs? What are you building on heading in to I'm assuming it's going to be a close game, especially with Leonard in the crease, and as well as I think Campbell might be getting the nod. I don't think Mraz is getting that second game, but with these two goalies going at it, it's going to be a tight affair. What do you see heading in? I'll start with you, Adama. What is the game plan for the Toronto Maple Leafs to take down the Vegas Golden Knights, a team that they struggle against, mind you, in their history?
They should beat them. They should actually kill them too. That's not disrespecting the Vegas Golden Knights, because obviously they're a fantastic team. But one, they've looked like shit this year, which I think we can all agree on. But that is because they are ridiculously injured. No Mark Stone, no William Karlsson. Wasn't Pacioretty? Is he out too?
Pacioretty's still out.
Pacioretty's out too. This team has, like, their depth is okay, but when Chandler Stevenson's your first line center, and there's no Mark Stone there or Pacioretty, it's just March or so. They should kill them, but knowing the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going to probably somehow Toronto Maple Leafs this and make it a super close game. Alex Pietrangelo has looked like crap this year. I know the analytics have said he's been the worst player out of all the players this year. He's looked terrible. Shea Theodore's in these the Buffalo rumors. I don't know if you heard about that, but as a game plan for the Leafs, build on what you do, because we're on a 2-game winning streak. The goals finally came. We got 5 last game. Keep at it. We need to play our style, that fast drop third forward, but like lots of cycling in the offensive zone. I want that first line to do well too. I want that Nylander, Matthews, Bunting line. They've been quiet the last couple of games. I don't know. I'm not, obviously we're not hitting the panic button on Matthews, but 2 points in 6 games is not ideal. So I really want them to have a coming out party.
And I'm sure Matthews is obviously going to get him. Like, he'll be finishing the year same as always. It's just probably the rough patch.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't have a preseason, so that'll play a huge factor into why his production's a little lower. But again, I'm on the same page with you. I really want to see a big game coming out of these guys. Matthews does shine on home ice against the Vegas Golden Knights. He scored a gorgeous goal against this side last time they met. Yep. Yeah. Last time they played the Golden Knights on home ice. It was a fun time for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know if they won that game though. They might have scored. I think it was an OT victory. Yeah. OT? Yeah, something like that. But I don't know. I'm expecting, like you mentioned, a goal party for Matthews to join. And that big line's got to step up. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to do so against the Vegas Golden Knights. Did you come up with it? Was I correct? My Leafs knowledge is a little iffy today.
An OT win does ring a bell. I feel like
it does ring a bell.
They definitely did. Here, let's go 1920. Vegas OT win 2-1.
For the Leafs?
Toronto Maple Leafs, yep. They beat them 2-1. Here, let's look for that game too. I got an ad blocker on. Hold on.
I want to say Tavares scored the winner?
Yeah, holy cow.
There we go.
Look at that.
I remember.
Match Pacioretty, and then power play goal, Austin Matthews, and then overtime, John Tavares.
Wow, I'm spot on. And I think the trivia might spill into that as well. So again, a lot of things to look out for this Maple Leafs team. They're on the up and up. I don't want to spend too much time teeing up the Vegas Golden Knights game, because I think we're going to expect to see a close affair. Possibly these big guys coming out. Hopefully maybe a 5-4 finish. That'd be a nice one. And maybe even like they did against the Vegas Golden Knights last time they hit the home ice against this team, an OT victory as well. Because this Vegas Golden Knights team, one thing they know how to do is keep it close and to squeeze out a victory. You can't let them do that on your home soil. You got to take advantage early, strike often, and that's how you're going to beat this very banged up Vegas Golden Knights squad.